What's up everyone, Nethervvoid here with a Path of Exile build video. This is actually my third Path of Exile build video. I have two on my main channel, which I don't know if I'll be loading them over here, probably just linking to them from here, but I'm going to be starting the new Essence League, Hardcore Essence League today. I think it starts today anyway, and this is the build I'm going to be going with. It's a Duelist, dual-wield sword, Lacerate, bleed, poison build. That's a lot to put all in one breath, but basically the way it's going to work is we're going to stack a lot of physical damage with Lacerate. We're going to use dual wield because Lacerate uses main hand and offhand in its attack. We're going to do then some dot damage with bleeds and poisons, and I'll talk about how we're going to get that in a second. And I think the dot's really going to help against bosses. I think Lacerate does fine against packs, but the dots are really going to help for those boss fights when you're trying to do like a more extended type of like a long. You need longer term damage than just a spike damage. So what do we really need off the tree here? You're looking at the tree that I've proposed. Obviously, I haven't started this guy yet. This tree's going to change a lot. If I have started leveling, I'm really low level, and my build is going to change a lot over time. And I want to show you one of these about probably I'll show you the next video at level 50, and then probably 70 and 80 or something like that, just to show you the changes in the build. But mainly what we're looking for is AoE radius. That's something we can get up here. That's really more of a quality of life because the Lacerate build, we want it to get as far, it's basically a wave of force that travels away from your swing. So we want that to clear as much, space as we can and get into the packs pretty deep. It's hard to get AoE on this side of the tree for Duelist. To get more AoE, we'd have to come all the way up here into Witch, and I think there's a little bit over here, but I think the primary nodes are basically here and here. There's a couple of them here off Scion if you wanted to go that route, but it really is a quality of life thing. It's not really well, it is pretty necessary. We'll talk about that a little more, but AoE is what we're going to be looking for. We're also going to be looking for a lot of crit. This is a crit build. One-hand swords don't have really high damage, so you're going to want to do some crits, and also that first hit is gonna if it crits, that's gonna help your bleed, right? Because the bleed is bleed and poison is based off the initial hit. So if you get a big fat crit, mainly on a boss, because if you crit a mob, it's probably just gonna die. But if you crit a boss, it's gonna make a big bleed and a big poison, and we're gonna get a lot of dot damage. It's gonna be awesome. So we're also gonna want to stack a lot of multi because that's gonna make the crit really big hit, really a large hit. And again, we're talking about one-handed swords who don't have high DPS, don't have a high initial hit, and so the multi is gonna really help us stack that damage on there. I might be using, because one-hand sword crit rate is 5%. I was thinking about using the piercing swords because it's 5.5%, but I'm not really sure because their average physical damage is lower, so I'm not sure if that's going to really help me. I don't think it is. I think the extra, I don't know, I'm going to mess around with it and see. But you can also get 30% additional multiplier for using those piercing swords. So I don't know, I'm going to mess around with it a little bit and see how that works. We'll talk about that a little bit when we talk about equipment, which I haven't finished this build necessarily. I actually kind of ran out of time because I've been real busy lately. So next thing we're going to want that I'm thinking about doing on the build, you can see a little bit of it in here, is getting some extra dot damage over time. I'm not sure about this actually. It's in the, oh no, that's not it. I'm sorry. The dot is, here's the dot damage, the other dot damage over here. Extra bleed as well, because, and again, we'll talk about it. The ascendancy provides you 50% chance to bleed, so you can get like 16% more by picking up these two wheels here. In fact, no, that's just damage over time. But with the Void Heart, we can easily get to 100%, even if we don't have a maxed out Void Heart, which we'll talk about that also as well, the stats on Void Heart. But since bleed is based off the initial hit, I'm kind of thinking about dropping these nodes and just getting some more damage nodes, because what that's going to do is double dip, right? The damage, I'm going to increase the initial hit damage, and then that's also going to increase the damage over time effect, right? So it's double dipping. So I might just drop these nodes. These damage over time nodes are nice, but I had this with my problem with the Bladefall poison build I did as well, is if the poison is based off the initial hit, why would I scale dot damage? Why wouldn't I just scale the initial hit damage? Unless I can't, right? When you're up here in Shadow, there isn't a lot of physical nodes up in here, so when you're trying to do like that Bladefall build, right? Down here, there's a plethora of sword damage, dual wield damage. It's tons. You can get as much as you want. So I might just take off those points from here and put them into some more sword damage or something like that. So we'll see. The damage over time does also affect poison, but again, the poison's based off your initial physical hit. So again, I'm not really sure how great that's going to be, but we'll see. We'll talk about the build in a second. I just wanted to talk about these main highlights here. So if you look at Duelist, really it was, do I want Duelist or do I want my Marauder? The Marauder ascendancies, I have not played with ascendancies a lot, but it's pretty easy to tell what kind of builds go with the ascendancies. I don't think it's really a kind of rocket science. This is a fire build. Definitely not doing that. This is leeching and war cries and stuff. And it didn't seem like it went with what I'm trying to do all that much. This is an all-around decent ascendancy, but I didn't think it was that great. This is, I think, a tank ascendancy, basically. Again, it's not bad. You can get a lot of increased attack speed right there. Armor's nice. Again, this is kind of a generic one. You can get maximum endurance charges really quickly with that one. It's not a bad thing. But I went with Duelist. And let's look at Slayer first. Slayer's not a bad option for this, because remember, we're looking for AoE, and here's 50%, 20% increased radius of area skills if you've killed recently. So right off the bat, you get an extra 20%, and that's actually really big. When you add that with the increased AoE support gem and the AoE we've got in the tree and Carcass Jack, which is a body armor we'll talk about later, you can get some massive AoE. You can go all the way to the edge of the screen. That's pretty cool. And there's a lot of great damage nodes in the Slayer ascendancy. My biggest thing was I kind of didn't want to go two-hand because, for one thing, it's hardcore. I really wanted to do. I'm definitely more defensive on my hardcore builds because I haven't done that many. I actually haven't done that many builds. So for me, having more, I'm not as worried about clear speed as I am about staying alive, especially in hardcore. I think most hardcore people can agree with that. So with dual wield, to get extra block chance. The reflect is not so big, but with this, you get 50% reduced reflect, so that's nice with the Slayer tree here, the Slayer ascendancy. But for me, I kind of felt like the dual wielding was just a little bit better. Also, there's a bunch of, ambidextrous nodes and different kind of dual wield nodes, so that was kind of nice too. Also, I can also get this great, to me this is a great node. I always want to try to generate charges on my characters because I feel like if you're not generating charges, you're just kind of leaving stuff on the table. They're there, you get 3 of them, just generate them, right? But it's always a trade-off, so sometimes you don't want to generate charges. But anyway, so here I've got 25% chance to gain frenzy charge on kill with main hand and 25% endurance charge on the offhand. So basically you can cut that in half, right? Because it's one swing with each weapon. Every time you click it, it's one swing with the main hand and one swing with the offhand. So technically, it's about a 25% chance to gain a charge altogether, I would say. Because, well, maybe not. Maybe your one hand won't kill it, and maybe your offhand does. I'm not really sure. That's a really great way to generate charges, though. Plus, look, 10% more physical damage while at maximum frenzy charges. That's insane because not only is it a boost above, you already get 4% more damage on each frenzy charge, right? Let's make sure that's correct. No, that's cast speed. Oh, maybe it's not. Yeah, here it is. 4% more damage, right? So I'm already getting 16% more damage with all my frenzy charges, and I get 10% more when I'm at max. That's 26% more. Now remember, this is not increased damage. Increased damage is just additive. It just adds it to your damage, okay? This is multiplicative. So after all the damage calcs are done, it's multiplied by this percent. Okay, that's 26% more damage on top of all the additives I've already done. Okay, after all the tree additives are finished and all that, I get more damage, like a lot more. So that is really worth it. 10% reduced physical damage taken while at maximum endurance charges. So if we look at endurance charges, I get 20% when I'm full. And I get 10% more. I'm sorry, reduced, not more, reduced. So I get 30% reduced. Now, that's not less. Less would be multiplicatively less, okay? It's just 30% reduced, which is a lot. That's a lot of damage reduction. So I think this is a really great... It's funny, you would think dual wield's not really a defensive thing, but this comes out to be pretty defensive, and I like that. Second, really, are the bleed nodes here. You get 25% chance to bleed here, 25% chance to bleed here as well, but you also get 6% reduced damage from bleeding enemies. So again, I'm just stacking even more reduced damage here. 30% chance to maim, that just slows enemies down. That's pretty good, but hopefully they'll be dead, so it won't matter. 30% increased damage against bleeding enemies. Again, it's just even more awesome. And then, yeah, okay. We've got 30% increased damage for bleeding enemies and 30% increase. Yeah. So we've got 60% more damage to enemies that are bleeding. I'm sorry, increased, not more. I have to stop saying that. Also, bleeding enemies you kill explode, dealing 10% of their maximum life as physical damage to people surrounding them. This is crazy. This is going to be crazy, I hope, anyway. We've also have one-handed weapons, increased attack speed here, and more damage. And this is also a little bit more of a defensive node here. 8 additional chance to block if you were damaged by a hit recently. So I think I have 12% for dual wielding block. But if I get hit, it goes up to 20% chance to block. So that's pretty good. In a pinch, I've got some block, which is always nice. Also 40% increased damage if you've taken no damage from hits, which should be most of the time. So right off the bat, 40% more damage. So I just felt like Gladiator was really good. Oh, actually, I get 2 more right there. So that's awesome. So right away I'm going to get 14, and then I get another 10 or 8 if I get hit. So that's a really good, these are good defensive nodes as well. They also add some more damage. So I thought Gladiator was a better choice there. So for armor, I'm going to go with, or for defensive, I'm going armor, because I just feel like armor is just easier overall to manage damage mitigation. Just doing dodge and doing those, you either get a hit with 100% of the damage, you get 0 damage. That's alright, and I understand entropy's there, so you don't take a string of hits. I just don't like that kind of spike damage, especially for hardcore. I've talked about this in my Bladefall video. For hardcore builds, I just don't think it's a good idea. I think it's too much risk, and with hardcore, you're definitely just trying to reduce the risk a lot, okay? Because if you die, it's over. You don't get any redos, your character's dead. 1 chance, that's all you get. So I feel armor's a little bit better. It mainly helps you with smaller hits, because as the hits get larger, a larger percentage of your life or whatever, or actually just larger damage, your armor actually is less effective. So armor is really great against a lot of little hits. It's going to keep us in the game and keep our damage incoming down. And then for the larger hits, that's where you get your overall physical damage reduction and overall damage reduction from like Fortify. Those are great things to have to lower that initial giant hit, okay? So life, I've got 181% on this tree. Where are we at? Defense. That's pretty good. I wish it was like 200%, but I think 180 plus is good. I was a little worried about the life. I was even grabbing these little tiny stupid nodes where I'm getting 6% armor, basically, evasion and armor, and 4% life. I just tried to grab stuff nearby to get more life with the extra nodes I had. But really what's cool, and I haven't done this before, but I'm going to try a massive regen build here, which is going to be pretty neat, and maybe I'll do some leech. I'm not positive yet. I'll probably put some leech on there, I'm sure. But I'm going to try to get a massive life pool and just have massive amounts of regeneration. That's going to be pretty sweet. I don't think 8% is very massive, but I did try to get a lot of regen nodes. You can see I went out of my way to get more regen. You can see I picked this one up too. I picked these regen nodes up. If you look 0.5, 0.3, and then another 1, it doesn't get you a lot except 5% life right there, really, and some armor. But I went out of my way to get a lot of regen nodes, so I think it's going to be pretty good, 8%. We will see. So let's talk about the tree a little bit. I know this build's going to be kind of long. Let me know in the video description if it's too long for you. But I like to be a little bit more in depth with my builds and tell you why I picked things. So we're starting out on Duelist here. I'm just going to go for all the damage nodes here. I'm going to go down to get Master of the Arena, kind of obvious, 1% regen right there. More melee physical damage. I don't think that's going to help with bleed. For bleed, I think you need these increased physical damage nodes, which I'm thinking about recalculating and picking a lot more of those up because I didn't do that. It kind of depends if I'm going to go heavier dot or more initial hit. We will see. But see, this will help me on initial hit too. So this is a double dipper. Actually, it's triple dipper if you think about it, because it's going to affect my initial hit, it's going to affect bleed, and it's also going to affect poison. So it's a triple dip, which is pretty insane. Go through the life wheel here, more armor, more life, speed, everything. This is going to be awesome. I'm going to go down here and pick up some more additional block chance here while I'm dual wielding. More damage, more speed, a lot more damage nodes here. I'm going to come down and pick up this life wheel probably, because at that point I'm going to want more life, more regen right there, really simple. The Frenzy Charge here, I might not pick that up right away because I'm not going to have an ability to pick up Frenzy Charges probably until I get Gladiator, because I'm going to go after this node first with my first 2 points. So I probably won't pick that up right away. I will be heading down here and picking up Iron Reflexes almost immediately, just because I want that that life. Again, I probably won't pick up Bleed until I get Gladiator, and that's going to be until I pick up the extra Bleed nodes here, because there's no point. So I will come over here and pick up all this sword crit right here. Really great sword crit nodes right here. A lot of multiplier here. If you look, I've got where's my multiplier? I've got 80 multiplier and 40 multiplier. That's 120 multiplier right there. And I think I've got some more multiplier with swords or something. It's a pretty decent multiplier from the tree itself, and we'll probably pick up a lot more from equipment. That's what I think I'm going to be doing there. Pick up some more crit there. Just a lot of crit. Trying to pick up as much as I can. Another life wheel here. Then I'll probably start heading this direction. I'm not sure if I'll pick up a Frenzy Charge. I probably will, because I'll probably be using Enduring Cry until, again, I get the Gladiator wheel here. And then I'll probably start using Rallying Cry for additional damage. It really depends, because with Enduring Cry I can get a lot more regen as well. So probably going to skip those dot nodes until a lot later in the build. I really wasn't sure whether I should go this direction or not, or should path down here, but I really wanted to pick up Unwavering Stance, so I can't evade anyway, so I don't have any evasion, so I might as well not be stunned, right? Again, that's a great defensive node in my opinion. I can pick up this life wheel, which isn't the greatest life wheel, but enemies can't leech. That's really great, mainly for boss fights and stuff. Then I'm going to swing around here, up through here. Probably won't be picking up this life wheel, probably won't pick up this endurance. It just depends. Possibly endurance charges. I might pick up those actually. Then I'm going to swing through here, get some damage nodes, pick up some more great Marauder things in here with like a lot of life here in these life nodes. A lot more regen here. Another regen node. We're going to have some great time with regen there. And then from there, I'm probably going to pick up more crit. It really depends. If I'm feeling kind of tanky, I'll go for this crit wheel. Which takes me through another life node here, which these are not great life nodes, but it's life on the way, that's great. Or I'm going to speed up basically to these AoE nodes here to try to get more AoE. It's more quality of life and a bunch more life nodes here and some regen off of this node here. Don't get a lot off this. Increased melee damage is great, and then I guess the speed. Actually, this is still a really good node. I like to pick up these nodes that are near the start of a tree, because they're just OP, right? So that's pretty much the build. That's 115 points. I'm sure I'm not going to probably ever get to that much. That's like level 90 almost. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Again, I like to do a lot of... I kind of rebuild as I go, as I see if things work and what doesn't work. Let's talk a little bit about what I'm going to do with my build. This is kind of a build template I've been working on a lot. It's really not great yet. You can find a link to it in the video description. It talks a lot about the build and a lot of my other builds here. As you can see, I only have 3 in here right now. It's not a very great template now, but I'm going to try to build it into something better. So for skill gems, I got Lacerate on the chest. Increased melee physical damage support. It's kind of obvious. This is a multiplicative one, so you definitely want to pick it up. Multi-strike, I think this is going to get me a lot of speed, and I'm thinking that that's going to help a ton. So I kind of want to do a lot of little hits, because that's going to, well, I don't know, depends. A lot of larger hits would be better for crit. I don't know. That's why I've got 7 or 8 gems in here. I'm not positive on which one's going to feel better or do a little bit better for me. I know the tooltip is a lot of help, but really what I do is I look at the tooltip and everything, but I put gems on and I go up against packs and see how those gems feel. Sometimes a gem that I didn't think was going to be very good because the tooltip sucks ended up actually killing faster and helping my clear speed or quality of life is really, really improved. So we'll see. Increased area of effect, you're going to need that, no doubt. I really want a larger area of effect on the screen. Increased critical damage. I think I'm going to be going with this instead of increased critical strikes, because the multiplier is going to be a big deal. I'm not going to be able to probably pick up a lot of good multi gear. So since it is going to be a fresh league and it's going to be, I don't really farm a lot, so I'm not going to have a lot of currency. So this could help me with my damage. Faster attacks, not too positive because I'm picking up a lot of speed, so I'm not sure I'm going to need that. Poison, if I get Void Heart and I get the champion nodes, I'm not going to probably need the poison support. So I probably won't pick that up. Also, if you notice, there's no conk on here. There's no concentrated effect, which is going to be a more multiplier on my damage for area skills, and because it also reduces your area of effect, and I don't want that. It's a less area of effect too, so it's a multiplicative less, right? So it's not going to be offset by the increased area that you pick up from the skill tree and stuff. Knockback is also an interesting one because when you start enemies bleeding, they take a lot more damage if they're moving, and knockback counts as moving, and so you can force them to move and just take a tremendous amount of damage from that. And also you can move bosses around. At least that's my theory. I'm pretty sure you can. So I might mess around with knockback. I'm not sure. I might also try to get knockback on boots or gloves or some kind of equipment because that might be a little easier. Something that I don't see in here. Yeah, I guess I already talked about conk. There's a couple other things. Again, I'm going to mess around with my gems a lot. If you have some ideas, just put them in the video description. I'll check them out. Hands, I'm going to be doing a movement skill here. Whirling Blades, faster attack to make it go a lot faster. Fortify, which is going to be awesome. That's going to get me a lot of reduced damage. And then Summon Ice Golem. The reason I like to put my Golem on here is so he gets faster attacks and Fortify too. It makes them stay up a lot better. It makes them a better tank. And the Ice Golem's a crit Golem, so that's going to be great for my crit. I don't think I'm going to need the Chaos Golem because 4% reduced damage, not too sure. Really, I could use the crit a little bit better. Boots, this is a very common setup for me. Cast some damage taken, increased duration, Immortal Call, and then these are definite locks. I might mess around with the Molten Shell. It does help reduce the physical damage incoming for a little bit. If you level it pretty high, it actually can take a nice hit for you. But I might mess around with like some kind of ice skill or something to freeze people or something like that. That could be kind of fun. We'll see. Right hand. Now, since I am using dual wield, I do not get 6 links here. I only get 3. If you do two hand, you can get up to 6 links, which is really great for your second skill that I'm going to be using, Ancestral War Chief. I don't need to tell you if you know about the skill. It's super overpowered right now. But I'm going to be using 2 one-handed, so I get 3 links here. Enduring Cry, Val Haste, increased duration. This is kind of obvious. Once I can start building up charges, I might go with Rallying Cry. I'm not sure. Rallying Cry will increase my damage. Probably Enduring Cry is what I'm going to keep because it'll help me with regen right off the bat if I'm feeling like I'm if I'm really hurt or something and I'm in a bad way, I can get some regen. Also, if my Immortal Call just popped off, I can hit Enduring Cry and pick up a lot of endurance charges immediately. So it's a really great skill for hardcore, I think. Val Haste is kind of obvious. It's for bosses, so you can just lay waste. Increased duration to increase, right? Increases the duration of the regen, increases the Val Haste. That's kind of obvious. Left hand, I'm going to be doing Blasphemy support because I'm going to be doing Vulnerability. To get power charges is what I really want to pick up some power charges as well to really make my crit shine. I want to get up into a really high crit percent. I might use Assassin's Mark to pick up more crit, to pick up those power charges. I'm not going to get any. Well, I think I'm going to take for bandits probably the extra power charge if I'm going Assassin's Mark. That way I'll get 4 power charges and give me 200% extra crit percent. Or I'm just going to do Vulnerability because Vulnerability is great on these builds because it reduces it gives you extra physical damage on your initial hit, and it actually increases the dot damage. So it's going to increase my bleed damage, and it's going to increase my poison damage. So it's going to triple dip if I use Vulnerability. I'm probably going to go with Vulnerability, but again, Assassin's Mark, if I can't find a better way to get power charges, probably going to be a must, because I'm really going to want to be critting all the time. I don't have the high damage of a two-hand weapon, so I need to get that crit off the charts, right? Arctic Armor, something I'll be running. I don't see any mana problems with this, so I can probably run 2 auras. Arctic Armor is going to help me with survivability. It helps a lot. Straight physical damage reduction at all times and some fire damage reduction. Also, it freezes and chills people that hit you, different things like that. It's a great defensive aura. For my helm, Ancestral War Chief, this is really just my single target or extra damage on bosses and stuff. Increased melee physical damage support, that's more. Conk effect for bosses again, and poison support. I think the Void Heart will give Ancestral War Chief poison anyway. And I also might get poisoned from Ancestral Warchief off of the Gladiator. So I might not need the poison support. I might be able to put something like faster attacks or some other something else in there to increase the damage from Ancestral Warchief. I'll also have to play around with it. So those are my skill gem setups. For gear, Carcass Jack is going to have that huge huge AoE increase. You can see here, increased radius of area skills by 20%. It's really big, and I'm kind of going to need it with one-handed weapons probably, because I'm not going Slayer and getting the the 20% just from Slayer. It also increases my area damage. That's not a lot, so that's not that big of a deal. It's still nice. I get some resists, not a lot again, some life, and then it's pretty decent on evasion. Right here, because remember that's going to be converted armor. That's okay. Usually for armors, if I'm going like a rare, I want like 1600 or more armor. So 600 to 700 is pretty good. A little bit of energy shield. Really what I want is the radius of area skills. Again, I'm going to be playing on a hardcore league that's going to be fresh, so picking up a nice Carcass Jack is not going to be that easy. I'm probably only ever going to get 4 links here for Lacerate, possibly 5 if I really try. We will see. Void Heart is really the other unique I'm going to really be going for. If you look at Void Heart here, it's because 30 to 50% chance to cause bleeding, right? Let's say I can only get like a 40%. If I can pick up 8% from my nodes, I have 98%. Or if I don't, it's still, or actually 16%, right? So if it's 40% plus 50% and 16%, I'm at over 100. So I don't need a really nice Void Heart, right? But if I can pick up a 50%, I've already got 100% now from Gladiator, so I'm good. 40% plus another 25% is 65%. So again, I'm going to be getting poison off this sucker too. Pretty nice little ring. Again, lots more damage. That also stacks, double dips on your poison, your bleeding, and your poison here, because it's just straight up increased physical damage. So not only does it help out your initial hit, it also helps out your bleed and your poison. So it's a triple dip right there. That's pretty awesome. Again, it's going to be pretty expensive probably, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to afford that, but I'll be going after it probably before Carcass Jack. I don't know. Yeah, probably before Carcass Jack, because getting Carcass Jack means it's going to be harder for me to get a 5-link. So we'll see. I think I can run this build off a 4-link and still get good damage. Again, we will see. A good hands, budget hands is Miligaro's Virtuosity. I don't think I have it up. It's basically a crit chance and crit multi-gloves. They're pretty good. There's an Adziri's gloves that are just way better, but again, it's this budget. I'm not going to be able to afford that probably, so I probably won't get it. Boots. I think there are some boots for this build. I haven't really looked. I'll be updating this again. I haven't had a chance to really look at gear. I'm not going to really be going after a lot of unique gear because I'm going to have to fill in a lot of resists, and I need my rares to do that. I'm only going to have 1 ring to pick up a lot of resists, so the boots are going to have to kind of substitute and stuff like that, because I don't think I get resist off this guy. Nope. At least I get life. That's kind of good. So for the helm, the Abysses is really what you want. If you look at unique helms here, you want the Abysses. It's going to be really expensive though. It adds a huge amount of multiplier. For our build, that's what we want. It also adds armor. That's awesome. Physical damage to attack. That's going to be great. Increased physical damage taken. That's not very good, but we've got a lot of stuff to mitigate that. So it just depends. This kind of scares me a little bit, but it offsets quite a lot by the extra damage. So we'll see how that works out. If not, you can just pick up a straight up Rat's Nest. They're real cheap. 15 increased IAS there, increased crit, increased evasion rating, which again is going to give us 600 armor basically. Increased rarity, we don't care about that. And movement speed's insane. I love extra movement speed. That's going to help us out a lot. So that's probably, I'll probably end up with a Rat's Nest. Do you also get, I can't remember, do you also get resists? No. So again, the more uniques I grab, the more resists I'm going to need. We'll see what I get with the other two. Definitely a Rustic Sash. That's going to increase my physical damage. We'll see. Or I could use unique. I'm not really sure yet. That's pretty much what I'm going to do. For bandits, I'm going to pick up probably Oak for the extra life, because I'm going for a, obviously a hardcore build. You're going to need that life. I might kill all for the extra point. I'm not sure. Actually, I think Oak gives you extra physical damage, doesn't he? Let's just look at bandits real quick. PoE. So we should be able to get what you get from each one, right? So in Cruel, yeah, physical damage. definitely going to be doing Oak again because remember, physical damage triple dips on this build. The initial hit, the bleed, and the poison. Don't forget that, okay? So we're going to go Oak, Oak, and then I'm probably going to go with the Power Charge. The only thing is our Power Charges don't last very long, so I might go with a Frenzy Charge. It really just depends. Frenzy Charges are going to help us a lot. It's going to make us a lot faster. But Power Charges, it just depends on how high the crit is. So I'm not sure where I'm going to go with that. We'll see. So that's really going to do it for this build video. Let me know what you think. It's kind of long. 30 minutes is kind of long. But I'll be starting it. Tell me if you're starting in the league tomorrow. Tell me what you're doing, what your build might be. I will have links to all this stuff in the video description. And I will hopefully be level 50 pretty quick and give you an update video not too far into it. I'm going to hit this league hard and see what I can get done. And as always, everyone, stay frosty.